We are going to talk about Lily Rose Depp. Oddly enough, go figure. We were just talking about Johnny Depp.
In light of this open letter and a renewed conversation around Amber Heard and how annoying she is, people have trashed Lily Rose Depp on Twitter for not speaking out in defense of her dad when the trial was still going on. And she had to answer for that in an interview with Elle recently. So she addressed it saying, when it's something so private and personal that all of a sudden becomes not so personal, I feel really entitled to my secret garden of thoughts. I don't like that wording.
Can we stop quick before we go on? This is what I mean when I say like everything seems like a prepared statement. Like no actual person talks like that unless they're writing it out.
Do you think she was given the questions beforehand?
Well, if not that, was this a typed answer?
This was an in-person interview.
So weird.
Maybe she just talks like that.
Okay.
She was raised by Johnny Depp, for goodness sake.
Then she is the exception, not the rule. But that's the type of stuff where when I hear that stuff, I'm automatically like, really? Have you heard me? I and ah like an absolute moron. I'm a normal person. See, I'm trying to like make it seem like me being the one who speaks poorly is the normal one. I'm gaslighting her. Like you with your eloquence, that's the problem. So continue.
Sometimes written interviews or like transcript interviews are awkward sounding though.
When I would get interviewed for like skating magazines and stuff like that, I always preferred the written ones to the spoken ones because I'm better written than I am verbally.
So Lily Rose Depp responded to the expectation that she speak out on behalf of her dad when the trial was going on, saying, I think I'm not here to answer for anybody. And I feel like for a lot of my career, people have really wanted to define me by the men in my life, whether that's my family members or my boyfriends, whatever. I'm really ready to be defined for the things that I put out there. And she was also prompted to talk about the privilege that she has received being the child of two famous people, both Vanessa Paradis, is that how you say it? I think
it's pronounced Paradis.
And, of course, Johnny Depp. And she also was trashed for her statements on nepotism. She seemed to be minimizing the effect that nepotism has had on her life. She said, I know my childhood didn't look like everybody's childhood, and it's a very particular thing to deal with, but it's also the only thing I know and a weird thing to navigate. It's different experiencing it firsthand rather than by proxy. I guess it's something I've had to make my own way with.
I can actually sympathize with that.
There's more though that you won't sympathize with.
The other part is way worse.
Yeah, she said, the internet seems to care a lot about that kind of stuff. People are going to have preconceived ideas about you or how you got here. And I can definitely say that nothing is going to get you the part except for being right for the part. That is factually incorrect, Lee Rose.
That's not even the worst part. It's the part
internet
after that.
Cares a lot more about who your family is than the people who are casting you in things. Maybe you get your foot in the door, but you still just have your foot in the door. There's a lot of work that comes after that. It's weird to me to reduce somebody to the idea that they're only there because it's a generational thing. It just doesn't make any sense. If somebody's mom or dad is a doctor and then the kid becomes a doctor, you're not going to be like, well, you're only a doctor because your parent is a doctor. It's like, no, I went to medical school and trained.
Okay. Those are not
and the fact that she is comparing being a model at the height of 5'2"
yeah.
to becoming a doctor and going through 8 years of education to do so is really insane. Brazenly stupid.
The argument they would make, I'm guessing, would be that most actors do end up going to whether it's the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts or Juilliard or any of these programs, but it's still far more subjective than the qualifying standards that come from actually becoming a doctor, which is board certified.
Yeah, exactly. I don't... for her statement on speaking out on that trial, I totally agree with her that she has a right to silence on anything. She doesn't have to speak out for her dad, especially because, you know, he's a grown adult. She is also a grown adult in the public eye and, you know, has a right to privacy.
That part I agree with. I don't think that anybody, no matter how closely related you are to someone, I don't think it's your responsibility to have an opinion one way or the other when it so intimately affects your interpersonal relationships offline.
Yeah, some people were just claiming that Lily Rose Depp is not grateful to her dad for the notoriety that she's gotten from him.
Yeah.
And it's shown in that she didn't speak about the trial, but really, I think it would have hurt her career and Johnny's reputation more if she had spoken out about it.
Yeah, it just adds more moving parts to an already kind of messy narrative and situation.
Yeah, so here are some tweets responding to Lily Rose Depp's comment. One said, Lily Rose Depp convincing herself her career is off her own merit is genuinely hysterical. Another said, Lily Rose Depp is not just a Nepo baby. She is a double Nepo baby. She's got nepotism flowing through both paternal lines. A poster child for nepotism, if you will.
But we also
What is she talking about?
But we also have to be careful because a lot of these same comments are made about like you only get this job because of your skin color. You only get this job because of this.
I think that's a lot different.
I'm just saying that the same logic to those people applies. The people who are applying the logic to that are the same people who applied the logic here, even if one has more validity than the other. I don't know.
Nepotism is claiming that people inherently linked to you by blood will show preference to you and give you opportunities that you didn't earn.
Open doors.
And it's okay to get doors open for you by that route in a way that you didn't deserve. That's not morally wrong.
It is, but it's up to
people
you
are
to
saying,
excel.
yeah, it's up to you first to, surpass the opportunity that you were given and prove yourself further than that. And secondly, it's on you not to deny the fact that it was given to you at first and that you got ahead of others in your industry because of the opportunity you got from your family name. That is all people are asking of her.
Oddly enough, professional wrestling is an industry where they actually embrace the bloodline and they end up talking about it. Like they talk about them being bred for success because they come from good stock, right? Like if a pro wrestler has a son that wrestles, if that wrestler was a big guy, the idea is that his son would be similar in genetics and that those natural gifts would be something to celebrate. Roman Reigns is like the cousin of The Rock, who's the son of his dad was like a member of the first African-American tag team champions. Randy Orton is like a third generation professional wrestler, and his career has gone 17 million levels above what his dad and his grandfather both accomplished, both in length of career and amount of accomplishments because of what he was able to prove he was capable of as a showman.
Yeah, I think a lot of celebrities, actors and actresses mainly, have been able to do that, surpass the family name that gave them their initial opportunity and the open door. Yeah. But I don't think Lily Rose Depp is one of those examples, and people rightly pointed that out. One said that she's out of touch. Another said that she's denying her privilege. Your money status has contributed to your career, and that's okay.
That's what I mean right there. It's like I knew that the privileged crowd are going to come out and force.
It's different saying you got your job because you're white. You got your job because you're straight, white, a male.
It's just a different
cis,
type of privilege.
All of that stuff. That stuff is actually conspiratorial because it's claiming that you got preference from a complete and utter stranger based on your service level characteristics,
which we know society has pushed back on and is not
other than just being conventionally attractive. That's not a thing.
Yeah,
and it's not something you can prove either. Nepotism is out in the open.
Yep.
And there's no training involved or merit involved in becoming an ambassador for Chanel at 16 years old.
Yeah.
You're not self-made for doing that. And it's cool that you got that opportunity, but all people are asking is that she recognizes it was given to her because of her name.
And I think the best ones are the ones that embrace it, and or the ones like think of like an Emilio Estevez, who's Martin Sheen's son, kept his original last name, and Charlie Sheen kept that last name. Martin Sheen used that last name. Estevez is their biological last name, and he kept it at a time when they believed that using that last name because it sounded less American would actually hurt his career. And a lot of people still to this day don't know that Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen are related to Martin Sheen. I mean, obviously they know that Charlie Sheen is related to Martin Sheen, but like that's somebody who went out on his own, and whether the opportunities arose from having a family member that was already in that industry, it's a matter of what he managed to do with it, right? So that proves that it can be done. You can make it on your own merit, even if you have some type of advantage at the beginning.
Yeah. Charlie Sheen's daughter hasn't followed in his footsteps
No,
in
not
that
quite
way.
yet. Well,
going on OnlyFans and all that.
Oh, and Denise Richards, who has her OnlyFans and then just had a very scary accident or not even an accident, got shot at. Her and her husband were in a car.
LA is getting crazy, man.
And then they elected Karen Bass. They
did?
Yeah, they elected Karen
No
Bass.
way!
Yeah, I just saw that today.
I thought Rick Caruso won.
I think they said Karen Bass won.
That sucks.
Oh, Johnny Derp says, so does Emilio Estevez have tiger blood? Yes, apparently he too would have tiger blood and is also winning.
So I want to talk about Zoe Kravitz. She was also recently asked to speak about the effects of nepotism on her career. She said that she, for a long time, didn't feel deserving of the roles that were given to her until she got cast as Catwoman in the recent Batman movie. She said, it's completely normal for people to be in the family business. It's literally where last names come from. You were a blacksmith if your family was the Black family.
Is that true?
I
don't think
know.
that's true. I think that's made up.
Someone fact check her on that. And she basically defended nepotism. And I don't think anyone is impugning nepotism for its own sake. They're impugning the celebrities who receive it and then deny that they received it.
Yeah. It really is. It really is about what you manage to do with the opportunities that are given to you. And I do have a lot of kind of, I guess it would be empathy. Would it be empathy or sympathy? Like to choose to enter that industry, knowing that you're going to be compared forever to somebody who is very successful. That's not an easy path to follow. Like if all you're looking for is to make enough money to make a living and you're not actually passionate about the work, that's one thing. But if you actually, like, if we're to take them at their words and they enter a profession because they love it, just like their dad loved it, just like their mom loved it, and then they have to be consistently compared to that family member, that's not an easy path to take. Even if it gets you the roles,
Sure.
that's not going to get you the same level of recognition. And then you're kind of setting yourself up for kind of a tougher journey. It's kind of like we talk about, there is such a thing as kind of setting yourself up for failure. I talk about how when they cast based on race and gender and people get angry because off the bat you're at a disadvantage because people are second guessing whether you got that job of your own volition. You're kind of doing that to yourself by choosing to be in the same field as a parent who was successful doing the same thing.
Yeah, I suppose if you're the child of two performers who are rich, you actually have
successful.
Every path open to you. More than just becoming an entertainer. You can pretty much do whatever you want. Following in their footsteps in going into the entertainment industry wasn't forced upon them.
The more interesting stories always to me is when they go to do something completely different. They become a doctor or they become a lawyer or they go and raise alpacas somewhere.
Or if they're just like not relevant to the public consciousness. Like I saw paparazzi were stalking Paul McCartney's son, who is like middle-aged and barely relevant. I know that he had a short-lived music career. But they were like stalking him while he was on the way to a coffee shop, taking pictures of him.
Is there a lot of money to be made in following
Paul McCartney's 45-year-old son around? I don't know. Apparently, yeah.
It doesn't seem like that's actually a relevant thing in the world today.
Yeah,
like who's paying for those photos?
Another comment that we have on nepotism comes from Willow Smith.
She does, however, look exactly like her mother, Zoe Kravitz.
Zoe Kravitz looks like a carbon copy.
Like they literally just picked her up and just hit Control C and then Control V.
Could be her older sister.
And then de-aged her, yeah.
Yeah. So here's Willow Smith's comment to the Rolling Stone when she was asked how she feels about the label Nepo Baby. I don't focus on how other people feel about me. If you love me, amazing. If you hate me, fantastic. That's none of my business. I was put on this planet to be someone who uplifts the lives of people with my art and my words, and that's it. That's pretty much how I feel. Anyone can feel how they feel. I don't mind.
I actually am completely fine with that statement. As insufferable as most of the Smith family is, that's actually a fairly reasonable take, I think.
Yeah, I do.
She's right. You cannot, it's the same thing here. I read comments, people saying stuff about me on this channel, however small compared to them. It's like, I can't control how you feel about me. I can't control how you take what I say or what I believe. And that's not really up to me. It's kind of, we all have our own responsibility to seek out the truth wherever we find it when we disagree with someone. And it's not really on us if somebody else disagrees or doesn't like what we say.
Specifically in the discussion of Hollywood nepotism, there is a lot of Nietzschean ressentiment or whatever, however you say it, where, the people who didn't receive this privilege are pointing it out and labeling it a moral evil.
That's a big problem with society right now. That's a huge hang up in our culture right now is that label.
They're labeling nepotism as an evil simply because they didn't have the luck of being born into it, when really it is actually a moral good to give opportunities to the people you're related to. I think it's a good thing and something that no one deserves to be trashed for receiving or giving to their family members. However, I guess the conversation around privilege based on race, gender identity, sexual orientation has kind of co-opted the conversation. Because now, if you're given anything and you didn't, or if you had to earn anything, if you were given anything that you didn't earn, there's all of this baggage attached to it based on your immutable characteristics. One of them is your last name.
That's unless I know that people don't see that same similarity, but I see the same thing kind of with your race now. Like you're now, whether we think that it's real or not, or that that we believe that people are inherently giving you opportunities based on what you look like, which we know is silly.
I wouldn't compare it to the idea of critical race theory.
Yeah.
I would connect it to affirmative action.
Yeah.
Nepotism is basically affirmative action by blood. Right?
Somebody should write a book. Affirmative Action by Blood, the story of nepotism in Hollywood.
That's literally what it is. And no one is saying you're a bad person for receiving an opportunity from an affirmative action program. They're just saying don't deny that your opportunity that you got from affirmative action got you where you are today.
Johnny Derp says nepotism props up people with meager talent who couldn't attain the heights on their own merit. But it's always cool when they do succeed. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's the greatest practice, but it's a cultural inevitability in Hollywood, given the subjectivity of the art that they create, that there is no right or wrong answer. You just know a good performance when you see one. So could they have done a good job? Maybe, maybe not. Is there an actor who's more qualified who could have done a better job? Probably, maybe. But a lot more goes into casting than just the best actor for the job. Nowadays.
Speaking of casting, we have another nepotism baby to talk about. They're just stacking up. It's Nepotism Day on Pop Culture Crisis.
Yes.
Armie Hammer might be getting casted in a possible sequel to 2017's Call Me By Your Name, according to the director, Luca Guadagnino.
What's the last name Guadagnino? What is that? Is that Italian?
I'm not sure.
That was half a joke. But I'm just saying, if Kevin Spacey is still working in Italy, then the fake cannibal can get jobs too.
He said, I would love to make a second, third, and fourth chapter of all of my movies because I truly love the actors I work with, so I want to repeat the joy of doing what we did together. It's a wish and a desire, what he said about Call Me By Your Name.
Yeah.
I have not made up my mind about what would be the story. And when he was asked if he would specifically recast Armie Hammer in it, he said, yeah, of course. I don't know if that is a matter of course, because he got a lot of backlash for saying this.
Yeah.
And a lot of people saying you're excusing Armie Hammer of the allegations
of what? Of fake cannibal? I guess there's the one actual assault allegation. The rest of it's fake.
Yeah, I feel
fake text cannibalism. That's not a thing.
Well, here's another weird part of it. Armie Hammer's co-star in Call Me By Your Name is Timothée Chalamet, and Luca Guadagnino just made another film called Bones and All, starring Timothée Chalamet,
about cannibalism,
called a sexy cannibal love story. I don't know what to make of that. I haven't seen either of these movies. And I've seen some comments saying that Call Me By Your Name is a very creepy movie, basically about an older man seducing a young underage boy.
Ugh.
I don't know how true that is, but creepy if true, yet unsurprising when it comes from Hollywood.
So what is the difference between, this is kind of a joke, but what is the difference between a not actually being a cannibal and just having a weird fetish like Armie Hammer does, in which he talks about something in text but doesn't act on it, and somebody who writes a script on it, which is just verbalizing the same thing but in story form?
Well, Army Hammer was only sending those texts because I think he is a deeply uninteresting person.
He's just really boring.
He's
like, my family's rich.
He thinks that taking on some weird kink is a personality trait.
Hey, Army Hammer, he's another one.
That's all I think it was.
Who's a kind of a, not just a nepotism baby, but made it. I mean, I'd never heard of who his family was, and then when finally somebody said Armand Hammer, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was wondering why he went by Army, but that makes sense.
Yeah. Some person said about Call Me By Your Name, this movie was disturbing and uncomfortable. The fact that a whole 25-year-old that looked 40 was hooking up with a minor 17-year-old was weird AF. Sorry. So people are saying, please don't make a sequel altogether because this movie was just creepy. And I'm not surprised to hear that this came from Hollywood and had a huge amount of popularity because they're constantly trying to normalize weird sexual deviancy to the public.
They're pushing it ever so slowly forward and making everything acceptable to the public in a way it's really okay. This is kind of an aside, but I've been watching a show called Saving Grace, which was like a police drama starring Holly Hunter from like 2007, and it's really funny because the show is based around the concept that this police officer. She gets into an accident and has an angel that's essentially like interacting with her throughout the show and trying to turn her life around. And it's very, very interesting because the character itself is very, very damaged. She's an alcoholic. She smokes constantly. She's having one night stands. She's sleeping with married men. And I think about how they put it against the backdrop of religion. And I just can't imagine that show being made today because the religion is portrayed. She pushes back on it in a way that's predictable of somebody who grew up in a religious household who rejected the practice. So it's honest for the story, but they frame the religious aspects of it for the most part as a positive thing. And I think about how, just like we're talking with sexual deviancy being, pushed more and more forward, it's only 2022. This show came out less than 2 decades ago, and you're so far away from seeing anything like that type of story being told that it feels like it goes slowly, but it really doesn't. Everything is happening very, very fast. It's just the internet happens at such a fast pace now that you blink and 10 years have gone by and look how far we've fallen as a culture.
Yeah.
It's scary.
It's disappointing. And as far as recasting Armie Hammer, I think that the cannibalism allegations are the least anyone has to worry about. The real essay allegations that I saw about Armie Hammer were pretty disgusting and concerning if true.
But again,
but it seems like nobody really cares. It was kind of weirdly overshadowed by the cannibalism texts.
In the documentary fell down the memory hole as soon as like nobody cared.
And it wasn't even a documentary, was it? It was a docu-series.
And it's like everyone's like, yeah, but Dahmer's out now, so we'll just watch that. He eats people.
Yeah, for real.
He actually does. He's not a poser.
Just sext Instagram models about eating people. He actually eats people.
Dahmer put his people where his mouth is. It's exactly what he did.
Yikes. So a lot of people were saying the amount of women defending him in the comment section makes me nauseous. Another person said that's actually repulsive. The fact that he could still get work after what he did to those women disgusts me. I don't think it's all that surprising, though.
But what he allegedly did to those women, because we can't know.
Yeah, the text messages are the least interesting thing about Armie Hammer. Yeah. I don't know how do I feel about that. I don't think they should make a sequel to this movie anyway, though, because I hear that it's just creepy pedophile propaganda.
It would be funnier, though, if they're like, look, we heard you're a cannibal. We don't like that. We heard that you assault women. Yeah,
that kind of makes up.
We don't really like that either. But we found out that you were a product of nepotism, and we can't do that at this production. There's too much credibility to be lost by finding out that you had a famous parent.
Straw.
Like abused some women, ate some women, but has a famous parent or has famous family. That's a bridge too far, my friends. Not on our watch.
By the way, do you think Zoe Kravitz gets more privilege from her mom or her dad?
Probably her dad. The last name is Kravitz is his last name, and Lenny Kravitz is the one. I didn't know who she was.
Lisa Bonet, I think.
I didn't know who she was.
Do you think that Zoe Kravitz is going to outdo her dad notoriety at all?
No, I do not.
She still has time.
She has plenty of time, but Lenny Kravitz was a pretty big... But he was also a very big deal at a time when being a part of the Hollywood machine meant that you reached everyone, whereas now so much of entertainment is decentralized through social media that I don't think it has... Like, she will have to work even harder with both online and in mainstream projects to be able to reach that level of fame. Everyone knows who Lenny Kravitz was because at that time, you only heard so much music.
Sure.
So... Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.